everyone, hey and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Quee here. Thank you so much for listening. At Battle Rap Resume, we're on Patreon, we're on iTunes. You know, I mention this stuff every single episode, and I appreciate people that are heeding it. But I want to get into today's guest. I have the founder of the gigantic FlipTop League, an established battler in his own right, all the way from the Philippines. Enigma, how's it going, man?
Yo, what's good, guys? FlipTop, Uprising Records, Philippines. What's up, man? What's up, Tom? Thanks for having me on this.
Man, I'm overwhelmed, really, to have you on, because I was going through the stats today out of interest. King of the Dart have 193 million views total. URL have 370. FlipTop has over 1 billion.
That's not even counting all the piracy and all that shit. So.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into FlipTop as a whole, but I just thought as an intro for people, just to gauge if people aren't aware, it is crazy. But it's great to have you on, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
You know, out of interest for you, before FlipTop, before battling, rapping as a whole, your experience of it, writing, performing, where did that begin for you?
Oh man, well, I've been into hip hop for as long as I can remember, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, I probably listened to my first CD or tape when I was around 10, 11 years old, and I've always been a fan of it. And sometimes, like when I look back, like I realized that I've also always been a fan of like fast-paced talking and rhyming. So like there's a funny story that I always I've mentioned in a bunch of past interviews. Like one of my favorite fucking Disney songs was this song by Ludwig von Drake, and it has a rap portion by the end, and I remember memorizing that for like as young as like 7 years old or something, and I was always like inclined towards the fast-pacedness of rapping and then the rhyming aspect of it. So yeah, man, I mean, I've been in this thing for quite a while. Like after listening to my first few tapes and CDs, like of course it's just like years of research, backtracking, you know, finding more and more stuff that I enjoy and appreciate, and then eventually I got with this crew, right? I was like 13, 14, and that's when I first learned how to record, and I was also taken under one of the senior members' wings in terms of organizing an event. So like I assisted with event organizing and booking at a really young age, man, like around 14, 15, and when I look back too, like actually like I actually organized my first battle event at around 16, and this was in the freestyle era. And not that like, you know, like back then, of course, I never really thought like it would come to this. So yeah, man, it's been a long, crazy ride, pretty much, man.
Was it all Filipino battle rap that you were getting into? Did you have access to YouTube when you were aware of other leagues overseas, or?
Not yet, but I think at that time I was. Fuck, I can't remember the timeline though, but I'm pretty sure I had my hands on a few Serious Jones battles,
right?
And it might have been through fucking Kazaa or LimeWire. I can't remember.
Yeah, I've seen FlipTop being described in a few interviews as a modern day Balagtazan. I hope I'm saying that correctly. What is that?
Balagtasan is basically an old oral tradition in the Philippines. It's, I guess, it's slightly similar to battle rap, but not quite. So like I don't really subscribe to the analogy a lot. Like I mean, it's different rules basically. It's kind of like, you know, like a lot of the mainstream media here likes to make that analogy, and I keep telling them like, no man, like there's no connection whatsoever. They just both happen to involve oral recitation and one-upmanship between two poets. But that's about it, you know what I mean? Like it's not like hip hop here was started because most people wanted to bring back balagtasan, as they call it. And I always try to emphasize and reiterate that battle rap and hip hop is a African American urban culture product. You know what I mean? So there's there's not much of a connection. Like, you know what I mean? When when the mainstream media tries to make that analogy, I always tell them that's akin to saying like the shower head is a modern waterfall. You know what I mean? Like, no one calls it that, right? So it's like it's two different things entirely. So
yeah,
you know what I mean.
And you mentioned the mainstream media, so FlipTop is mentioned regularly, I assume. It must be a huge thing over there.
Yeah. It's regularly bastardized as well.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a sort of controversy recently where someone's mom got involved because they were mentioned in a battle. Is that right?
Oh yeah, no. She wasn't mentioned in the battle itself.
Right.
It was actually the mom of one of the girlfriends of the MC, and so like she wasn't familiar with the whole thing, right? And she just happened to fucking find the video, and she had no idea what it was about, and she like automatically thought like slander or libel. So yeah, she wanted to get at the other MC, but it's nothing, man. Like it was just like overreaction by some girlfriends.
Yeah. Moms are going to get mentioned, unfortunately.
Like, mainstream media and social media tried to milk it a lot.
And talk to me briefly about the origins of FlipTop. Like, where did the idea come from? Why did you want to start the league?
Pretty much because I was inspired by Grind Time, pretty much. Grind Time, King of the Dot, Don't Flop. Mm-hmm. Everyone else that came before us. Before FlipTop, we were actually, like, I was actually considering more of a WRC format.
Okay.
Where it would be, like 2-on-2, more freestyles and all that. But then I was, after much thought, like, I realized, like, it might not pan out as well. It might not be, they might be short-lived, basically. So, luckily, before I even launched that idea, like, I moved on to the more modern battle rap format and tried to build on that. And basically, man, yeah, like having been a part of the scene for so long, like, you know, like I basically I just thought that we've always had the talent, and it would be great if the rest of the country would be exposed and learn how to appreciate all the local talent. Because prior to FlipTop, hip hop didn't really have like a good name out here. Like it was really associated with a lot of I guess the Tagalog equivalent of riffraff and and all that stuff. So like, you know, like it was always all these misconceptions. Like it was always like wannabe black guys with oversized clothes and jewelry talking about superficial things like bitches and jewelry and all stuff like that. And other than that, Tagalog rap itself was really like looked down upon like by all these outsiders, like all these non-hip hop people. So yeah, man, like it was basically that. I just wanted to provide the platform. I knew the talent was always here. I've always maintained that if the rest of the world were only able to understand Tagalog, like they would realize how fucking genius all these guys are, man. Like I'd say, like luckily I'm fully capable of understanding both the nuances in Tagalog and in English. So like I'd say, man, like a lot of these guys are up there with like Thesaurus and all of them. You know what I mean? All the greats. If only their shit was like understandable or translatable. So
yeah, have you looked into like subtitling the battles en masse so people can engage with that, or?
Not en masse, but we do actually have one subtitled battle, subtitled from English to Tagalog and Tagalog to English. It features Sharon and one of our MCs, and other than that, we do translate we have a few other battles in a different dialect that we try to translate to Tagalog, and then the Tagalog back to Bisaya, as they call it.
And the first battle that was uploaded was in March 2010. That was Datu versus Camel Toe. And you know, Dirtbag Dan came over to the league at the end of that year. So clearly, clearly it grew very rapidly.
Yeah. Easily.
Was it just were you just tapping into something and it was just a bit of an explosion? Everyone was waiting for something like this in the Philippines? Or?
I guess half and half, man. Like again, like the hip hop scene wasn't as thriving as it is today. So it was like, I guess like it could even be said that it was on its last legs around that time, before 2010. And then all of a sudden, like that shit, like the first event happened, and a lot of the hip hop scene was like really excited. But more than that was really the outsiders, all the non-hip hop people that suddenly got exposed to the art form, and were pretty much brought in because of the novelty of it. You know what I mean? Like they weren't familiar with it, but they thought it was cool. And well, besides all that, of course, it was like the sheer talent and the sheer quality of the battle alone that because like we could have uploaded a shitty battle and then no one would have given a fuck. But the fact that it was that good and that much of a novelty thing for a lot of outsiders, that's really what blew it up.
You getting involved in the league, you battling the league. The first battle's against Dirtbag Dan.
I need not be nationalistic to manhandle his bitch tits, but I am Pinoy, so I know you managed to diss this. But you really think you can insult Filipinos in your verses when anyone you love or know that's terminally hurting is serviced by at least one of our nurses? Whoa!
This must have been a watershed moment, really, to have an American over.
Oh yeah, man, it was pretty overwhelming. Put it this way, man, like as Americanized as I may seem to like all my fellow countrymen, like prior to my battle in LA, I've never actually set foot in America, so you know, like I'm not exactly used to seeing like different colored people, you know what I mean? Like I obviously speak English pretty well, but like it's always a different thing, right? Like getting to see Dirtbag Dan face to face, just actually like, you know, hearing them talk, like it's not like I grew up in an international school or anything. So, you know, like yeah, it was overwhelming, man. Like even just when the poster dropped, like it was pretty crazy. And as far as the battle, though, it was just like I just had to do my thing, and yeah, like I actually lost my voice right before the battle because I still like organized it, like I was setting it all up. I, you know, took care of Dan and Lo Pesci right a few days before the battle, showed them around. We did a few hip hop nights. So yeah, man, like when I go all out like that, after a few hours or after a few days, my voice normally gives out, and so I was pretty fucked right before the battle. I had to try to recuperate and get my shit back, and yeah, luckily I made it through without too many fuck ups.
Yeah. And what is the process getting ready to battle? Writing, rehearsal, like, you know, what is your mode there?
Yeah, I guess I write. I let ideas swim in my head first, and then when I finally think I have enough, then that's when I'll put it to paper, and then I'll write for probably like a few days, maybe around a week and a half, and then the rest is all memorization and all that. But it's like, you know, my preparation techniques have evolved. Stupidly enough, man, like when I first battled, and even and also when I first used to write for tracks and shit, like I would write from top to bottom, and then only then did I realize, like a few battles after, did I realize, oh yeah, like I guess I should just like write lines and fucking edit it afterwards, you know, like. But prior to that, I kind of, for some strange reason, I considered it like a form of cheating as far as writing goes. Like, so I would literally write from top to bottom, from my first line to the last line of my first round. Same with the second round, third round, and it was only like yeah, like I think like 2-3 battles after did I try like writing down separate ideas and then just like finding a structure to it.
Yeah, and you know, your stuff is dense and impressive, and there are sometimes references that, you know, we don't get. You know, we're going to get to the Loe Pesci battle later. Pretty much every round he has bars that get silenced, and afterwards he says, "Oh, you don't understand that," you know, which is fair enough.
Yeah,
there's going to be lost in translation. You mentioned a rape case in Subic at the end of your first. What is that? People go mad for that. I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, no, it was I guess it was pretty relevant for the time because there was I mean, it's not like the first time an American raped a local over here. So,
right.
So basically, it was like an American soldier got drunk in Subic, which used to be the first. It's 2 hours away from the metro, right? From Metro Manila. It was the first U.S. base out here, and then so like Subic kind of has a reputation for having a pretty dense red light district area for all the foreigners and OM, as we call them. Like I don't know if that's a term over there. DOM, like the old man, or some shit.
Oh no, actually, I've not heard that term. DOM.
No. Yeah, that's what we call it out here. DOM, okay. And so it's either like sex tourists or soldiers or dirty old men,
right.
And they frequent that area. So there was a case then, and the dude's name happened to be Daniel Smith, which is such a I felt like it was such a stereotypical American name. And of course Dirtbag Dan, so it wasn't much of a, you know, I didn't have to make much of a reach to connect that. So it was pretty funny, like a lot of people think like I have some sort of like patriotism or nationalism, but I actually don't. So like a lot of that is really like what's the word for it, like almost satirical, pretty much. Like of course I felt like I feel bad when my countrywoman gets raped, right? But when I made that line, it wasn't on some yeah, Philippines versus the USA forever type shit. Like so, you know, like I find it more funny and a morbidly comedic way, you know what I mean? Like,
well, there's some pro-Philippine stuff at the start of your second, which is huge. I love this, where, you know, you say to Dan, you really think you can insult Philippines in your verses when anyone you love or know that is terminally hurting is serviced by one of our nurses?
Yeah. Whew. Let's put it this way, like I definitely represent, man, like I feel like I'm as Filipino as it gets, but at the same time, just, you know, just as a disclaimer for everyone that thinks I'm overly patriotic or overly nationalistic, like I'd also be like the staunchest critic of our country and our countrymen. So like, yeah, man, I hate this country pretty much.
Well, I mean,
I hate it.
In the third, which I was quite surprised at, you go in on religion, and you know, for those listening, there was a Gallup poll in 2009 which surveyed every country how important is religion, and the Philippines were 96%.
Both Christianity and all forms of Christianity and Islam, pretty much.
You know, you talk about your fellow countrymen as being goddamn fierce bitches with weak convictions who need religion to feel existence.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like I could have delivered that line a lot better, but yeah, my voice was fucked then. But as far as the writing, I mean, like that's definitely my sentiment. That's always been my sentiment, and I guess like I used to take a lot of risks in battles, man. Like it's not like I write this shit unaware that it's risky or not. You know what I mean? Like I know like some of the stuff I do is like really like I guess a bit left field or like a bit unorthodox, so like my whole idea behind that round was like I'm gonna show Dirtbag Dan that I can diss my own people and still fucking win this battle, kind of thing. So and it just so happened to be a two birds with one stone kind of thing, that I also get to vent out my sentiments regarding religion and shit. I'm a pretty how do you say this, like I'd like to think an educated atheist, you know what I mean? Like I questioned at an early age, but after that, you know, I really read up on a lot of atheistic literature and stuff, the Four Horsemen, and everything I could get my hands on pretty much at the library or whatever.
Your Sam Harris's, your Daniel Dennett's, etc. Of course, and Hitchens as well to finish off the four. And you know, Dirtbag Dan has a lot of generic Filipino stuff that works. You know, you've got a penis is a lot of what he's talking about, and Lady Boy, and Enigma's name should be changed to Shocking Twist, and not referring to his skateboard days when he says he's going to kick flip. I mean, you know, it's a. What did you think of his performance as a whole?
It was really sick, man. Of course, like for one thing, Dirtbag Dan's a fucking vet in this shit, and I'm just a kid from the Philippines, so you know, like no matter how much I thought highly of myself then, of course, like, you know, like it's always different, like just beginning with having to see a like American, getting to interact with an American that much for the first time was, you know, like I said, overwhelming. So like to see him in his element, to actually do his battle shit and his rapping shit, like it definitely put me in my place as far as seeing how much more I have to, you know, like obviously I speak better English than most people out here, but like after that battle, it's like, you know, I realized, man, it's not enough, dude. Like everything from my writing to my delivery, like I'm way behind everyone else. And but yeah, man, as far as Dirtbag Dan stuff goes, like it's what's the word for it, like it's double-edged in the sense that like it is kind of corny in the sense that he did use generic things, but over time, like especially when I look back at it, that's just actually like fucking it's it's really well played, pretty much, man. Like all this stuff was like the whole like he had a line about his kicks, right? Like I buy these shits with green bills, blah blah blah, and then he mentions my shoes, like you buy those from Green Hills, which is a notorious bootleg mall, and it turns your heels green, and that shit's real, right? Like, and for you to be able to, like to string it the way he did, like it was so effective, so simple, and I think it's one of it's actually like Dirtbag Dan gets overlooked a lot for that. Like I think like a lot of people give him shit for sounding a bit too simple or too generic, supposedly, but I think his it's a very effective less is more kind of technique, man. And you know, like I've even gone as far as like debate with myself, like who did it better, Lo Pesci or Dirtbag Dan. But when I think about it, like, man, like they both did it really well. Yeah. Like besides everything else I can say about the creative process behind it, right? Like it was really fucking funny, really clever. Yeah, man. Shout out to Dirtbag Dan, by the way. That's,
definitely. Yeah, I had him on the show a while back, and we discussed this battle in depth. So definitely check that out if you want to hear another side. And you beat him. You know, you win, which must have felt great.
It did, but also like, it's kind of like I'd like to think that I did actually win, but at the same time, I always get this nagging feeling that people don't really like fully understand what it is I tried to do and did in a battle. But yeah, but like and then of course like there's always the suspicion that the judges are all Filipino, right, and they might be biased. But yeah, you know, like I can also raise the argument that they were actually a diverse set of judges. Like one dude was is a underground veteran from New York. The other guy's Filipino American, meaning like he grew up in the States and flew back here. Another kid there was a Chinese Filipino, so he grew up in like Hong Kong International School and lived here for like the last 10 years and shit. So yeah, man, I guess like I'd like to think that diversity would have been fair enough to actually merit me the win, but I'll leave that up to everyone else, man. Like
and we have your first international battle overseas for yourself, head into World Dom 2, which is an all-time classic King of the Dot event where you battled Aftershock.
If you all are wondering why I first spat that fast, it's really because the self-proclaimed plagiarist failure wasn't sensible enough to craft more battle raps. See, I assumed this was 90 seconds and didn't bother to confirm, but a week ago, this closet Netsy twerk didn't have the decency to put in work, and instead of writing more, insisted that I cut my verse.
How was this arranged?
Yeah, Organic just hit us up. I think like prior to that, Organic had wanted to fly in Protege for his, just, like from his first battle alone, like trying to reach out and hit us up and try to fly him in, but it's not that easy for us, man. Like it's fucking expensive. Like the whole the visa shit, like that's always a fucking headache, man. Like it's insane. So yeah, eventually, like I guess after World Domination 1, he wanted to do it bigger and better, and he figured to get us involved, and luckily he included myself as well. So like I think Organic always wanted Protege first and over everyone else, and yeah, luckily I was selected as well.
And what did you think of Aftershock as an opponent going into this?
Yeah, man, like I never underestimate my opponent. I'm a big fan of his I think his D-Lore battle, and I also think he's like underrated in a lot of senses. And of course I also thought that, you know, like I could beat him, right? But yeah, like shit, man, back then I was like I feel like I was too fucking arrogant with like with how I perceived my skill level to be and my preparation methods. So like that was the first time I ever kind of stumbled or choked. Right. I guess it could be considered, because prior to that I've never really had any difficulties with memorization. Like my memory is pretty sharp, and like I used to pride myself in being able to memorize something in a day. So like some of my Aftershock shit, I actually wrote it like the day before the battle when I got there, because I scrapped my whole second round and thought of some new stuff and tried to incorporate things that I saw along the way. And then yeah, man, like I was just too fucking arrogant. I thought like I could pull it off. At the same time, like I also used to like get really blasted. I'm pretty used to performing high end shit, so you know, like obviously the weed in Canada is different from whatever we can get our hands out here. So yeah, man, it was a lot of arrogance on my part, yo. Like, and then that was the last time I got like blasted before a battle, because I was like, oh fuck, you know, like here we are again. Like I have to realize that I'm way behind all these motherfuckers, right? So like I can't be delusional about this shit. I gotta step it up, so I can't be fucking up next time. I really gotta take my preparation seriously, my writing, my creative process, the preparation, everything structured to how far away from the battle I should finalize my shit and start memorizing, to switch up my style from writing top to bottom and all of that, man. Like, so after that, I developed this personal fucking ritual before a battle, like that takes place. It pretty much takes up the whole day right before the battle. It might sound a bit fucking overboard or nerdy for other people and shit. I realize that, but yeah, man, you know, like that's what I got to do to get in battle mode. Like, you know, it involves eating breakfast at a certain time and not eating anything after that, and then having a coffee at a certain time right before my battle, and then having a beer right before the battle for the nerves and all that, and not smoking too much weed before the battle. So
it's hard to maintain, but I respect that, definitely. I think a regime like that's a good idea. And this battle is the epitome of the world domination idea, right? I mean, you want to see these people from the different cultures, sort of battle rap, from the different poles of the world facing off. And, you know, a lot of people are really interested when you spit your first, because they don't know what it's going to be like. You know, it's something completely different to someone like Aftershock, who's great, but it's more standard Maltese, putting your team leader in a deep freezer. I don't know if you noticed in your first, everyone's very quiet, because with your stuff you do have to listen. It's got a density to it.
But other than that, I feel like they were a bit quiet just because they actually couldn't understand the accent. I feel like I've come to realize that most non-American people seem to do better with different accents than the North Americans do. So like a lot of people have also told me about how like they find it difficult to listen to Don't Flop or listen to British people, but I've never actually had any problem. Maybe like, you know, maybe with Scottish people or like really heavy Irish accents, then like it would take me a while, but like I was always fascinated with that shit, so like I guess I picked it up a lot quicker. But back to the battle, man, like I felt like they weren't ready for my accent. This fucking up to now, like I wouldn't really know how to categorize my accent. Like a lot of people say like Filipinos are known for being non-regional. I think it's more like a fucking hodgepodge of too many different accents than being non-regional, because like especially like my style, like I pronounce certain things in a British way, and then I pronounce other things in American English way, and I wasn't always like aware of that, you know what I mean? Like growing up here, like I just pronounced it how I thought it was supposed to be pronounced. So like, you know, I'll still say YouTube with a ch sound.
Sure.
And I guess like British people actually say it like that, or some, not all, but maybe some.
Yeah.
And then and of course like the North Americans will find it funny. They'll be like, oh, look at this motherfucker saying YouTube and shit.
Right.
But then I've always thought like, you know, like fuck, but what about like other words like mature and literature? Like it makes use of that ch sound, but you know, like that's just like debates in my head.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's so many contradictions that absolutely don't make sense in the English language. And, you know, I think all in all, though, you do well. There is that sort of slip-up choke, whatever you want to call it, but there's lots of funny stuff. And I like the fact that you come back in the third, you talk about his stereotypes, but how can stereotypes apply? I've been in your city for some time and seen you like 50 times, which gets a really big reaction. Fuck your relative to Aftershock for questioning my visa file.
Oh, yeah.
You seem really harsh on yourself in the interview afterwards. Is that just your personality?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty critical of like everything, man. Like it's kind of like it's for consistency's sake, pretty much. Like, because I can't, you know, like I complain a lot, man. Like I complain a lot about this country and all sorts of shit. But you know, I can't really be complaining if I myself have all these shortcomings. So yeah, you know, I just try to be like not delusional about it. Like I really try to focus in on like what it is I lack, instead of, you know, making excuses or trying to say like, oh yeah, Aftershock just spit some generic shit, therefore you guys should fucking like my shit better because like I was rapping about this and that, you know what I mean? So like it's not about that. It's always like, yeah, just being consistent about my being critical about so many things.
Yeah, and I do think the performance is great all in all, but I mean, the most important thing is how symbolic it was for someone from FlipTop to go over to King of the Dot and battle. Was that a big thing back home for the scene?
Oh yeah, man, yeah. Like I guess as far as rap as an element in hip hop goes, then yeah, it was like one of the firsts, because like Filipinos do well in the b-boy element, right? In hip-hop dance and all that, with the Jabberwockies and the All-Stars and all that.
Sure.
So like Filipinos have long been representing as far as the b-boying goes. But like with the rap, as whether it's performances or battle rap, like we hardly get to represent outside of our own country, except for those that migrated pretty much, and they set up their own scene in their respective Filipino communities and shit. So it was crazy, man. Like again, and it was just such an overwhelming thing, man. Like I've actually been to Canada like way back as a kid for like my family considered migrating to Vancouver for a while, and then like a lot of personal shit got in the way, so that never really like pushed through. But I was also of that age that like didn't really like understand the gravity of since that time, actually, since that Vancouver, with my worldview and everything, like it was fucking overwhelming, man. Just seeing like all those different cultures and again like just like different colored people. Like I'm that of course the whole like how fucking Canada is such a first world country compared to our shit. So like it's crazy, man. It's almost on some the gods must be crazy type shit, you know. Yeah. Like we're not exactly like the poorest of African nations, but it's pretty different out here, man. Like when you get used to that and the fucking fly over there for hip hop of all purposes, it was yeah, man, beyond my wildest dreams, yo. And that was the word for the entire trip. Like me and Protege, the whole time we're just like, man, this is fucking crazy, blah blah blah. Like, but yeah, man. Luckily, fucking John repped it for us. That's his real name, John. He fucking murdered that shit. So yeah, cause like yeah, man. At least we were able to fucking put our stamp one way or another. Cause I know I didn't. I wasn't able to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and you know, in this time, before we get to the Step Easy battle, FlipTop's been around for about 2 years or so now, getting crazy views. I heard you mention to Roan in an interview that you weren't monetized for the first few years. Is that right?
Oh yeah, man. Like for the longest time, yo. Like it's pretty sad, man. Like I end up like having all sorts of racist conspiracy theories in my head. You know what I mean? Like on some. Man, that ain't fair, yo. Like why the fuck won't we have monetization? Why is it only available in at that time it was the US, Canada, UK, and Australia, and you know what I mean. I'm just like, man, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And it goes hand in hand with my like my sentiments regarding traveling with visas and shit. Because you know like you know what I mean. It's like, yo, like I can be the smartest motherfucker here from my country, and yet I still have to prove myself to get to enter your country, whereas the most fucking country bumpkin motherfucker can like doesn't even need a fucking visa and he can get into my country. That's fucked up. But
yeah.
But of course, like if I had to be more objective about it, like I realize, man, like a lot of our countrymen give us a bad name as well. So like I understand, like all these first world countries, you know, they're just looking out for themselves. They don't want to be like overridden with like all these fucking leeches and and illegal immigrants and shit like that. So you know, I kind of understand. It's just it just kind of sucks at first when you know when these things dawn on you and you're like, yeah, I'm like, yo, that's not fair, dude. Like, why do I have to like go through all these to such extents to fucking prove our shit. Because it's not easy, man. Like, it's not easy to get a visa to Canada, to the States, especially to Australia, to Japan. Like they're all on the lookout for like our country pretty much, because like we're notorious for illegal immigrants as well. So, you know what I mean, you have to supply all sorts of paperwork, like from fucking income tax to fucking proof of properties and proof of like you're paying bills, proof of down payments and all that stuff. And like it always helps to have local backers in whatever country it is you're trying to get to.
Right.
Like, so if you have family or friends there, like they have to write like all sorts of letters and say like, yeah, this is our itinerary. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go shopping and whatever. Like, and all sorts of reasons you have to give to convince like the embassy pretty much that you know like you're gonna come back. You're not gonna fucking try to hide in that country as illegal immigrant. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned J-Pro helping you with the visa in the Fredo battle.
Yeah. Shout out to him for that, man. Like, yeah.
So would you say that FlipTop is responsible for getting YouTube monetization in the Philippines?
I'd like to think so, man. Like I mentioned that in the Ronin review, but then, of course, like I don't have any like solid evidence for it, and I'm sure as hell like YouTube Philippines isn't gonna admit that, but I'm pretty sure like we're the ones who caught their attention, because like we were the most booming shit out here at the time, and that's when I think YouTube ended up having a main office in Singapore, and then from Singapore to the Philippines, it's not that far anymore. So like they tried to set one up here as well, but it didn't really like, it kind of fizzled out, man. Like there's not actually a YouTube Philippines office out here, and they had one event, and you know what I mean, like they had one event and nothing after that. And in that event, like we weren't even fucking included, you know what I mean? Like we were given the award, that fucking golden plaque thing for the 1 million subscribers, and it was probably like 3 years late, and we were this close to not even fucking attending or even receiving that award, because like we only found out about the event from someone else who was involved in, who was like selected for the program, right? And he hit us up. He was like, oh, by the way, the YouTube Philippines or YouTube Singapore people are like trying to get in contact with you guys, and they said they have an award for you. And I'm like, what, really? Like, the fuck? Why didn't they fucking tell us, right? So we fucking show up and we realize it's the fucking, you know, it's like the biggest award from YouTube possible. So and that basically we're like the most viewed out of everyone that was included in that program. So it was a lot of mainstream motherfuckers, you know, like a lot of viral via mainstream industry bullshit. So yeah, man, like we weren't even included in the program. We just had a tiny press conference in the back where they were like, oh, like, yeah, you guys have the most views in the Philippines and the most subscribers. I actually like I was kind of pissed about it, so I was just like, yeah, FlipTop bitches, like,
right
in front of all these like single white people. So
fair enough. Step Easy's next, which is World Domination 3. I mean, makes sense that you're invited back.
So you speed up that elementary cadence, shit doesn't change, it's plain and simple. The step is simple and plain. And the more he pretends that he ain't, he merely cements the impression that he's unashamedly basic. Blame me for being born in a different place if I stick to the way things are meant to be shapen. But my considerate nature disintegrates when you're reinforcing your pigmentation so much you're even making me racist. Fucking rocking that mullet wig in the video blog as if your normal face doesn't already look like a rapist.
I'm guessing you were quite hungry. You had something to prove here.
Yeah.
And someone like Step Easy to battle, like, was that someone you're excited for, or?
Not really, but like that's not to take anything away from Step Easy, you know what I mean? Like, but I knew I had to prove myself, and Step Easy has really good fundamentals, you know what I mean, as far as like delivery, structure, all that stuff. So, and I guess that's something that a lot of people perceived that I lacked in. So, you know, it was more of like, yeah, you know, I have to kind of prove myself. But at the same time, like, if you kind of analyze my demeanor, then like I was still kind of timid, and that was somewhat intentional, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to be all like overcompensating about it and be like, bah, you know, like I'm back, motherfuckers type shit. Like I'm here to fucking prove myself type shit. I kind of wanted to try to prove myself without doing too much, without like going overboard and shit, and try to let my style speak for itself. without like, you know, going for like what could be considered like, you know, cheaper tactics or easier tactics and all that. So
yeah,
that was the game plan pretty much.
And you attack him in a different way here to Aftershock. You go more personal, and it's more immediate for a lot of people there. You talk about how every sentence displayed, you're tentatively checking for any praise. The odd skiing motion with your arms as you pace.
Yeah.
Which is totally true. I totally see that.
yeah. I don't know, man. I guess I guess I can get observant about shit like that. And I find it funny, you know, like it's always like weird thoughts in my head, right? Like, look at this motherfucker. And I try to put that in rhyme form. Yeah. And I guess that was my first battle that I wrote without that I wrote individual lines and figured out a structure for it instead of from top to bottom and shit. But for the long schemes, obviously, like I still write that from top to bottom, like just not the whole 3 rounds. You know what I mean? So like that was first for me, I guess. And
Step Easy's good here. I mean, he does have the fundamentals, as you say. He's quite self-effacing. He says that you rush delivery and stumble schemes, and that's coming from me. He does a Seinfeld reference. Well. Yeah, he does a Seinfeld reference, and it's sort of like, you won't get that is the punchline rather than the actual reference, which I thought was quite nice. And, you know, he talks about you're supposed to speak English. Sue Surf's going to have to put it in subtitles or something like that. But, you know, it's strong, but I think for you here, I just think the writing's a bit more interesting. I fucking love not a Chinaman, Korean, Jap, or all the rest. Think that I'm Mongolian the way I trample over steps.
Yeah. Woo. I mean, I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say like I was like the best student of it, but like I was pretty interested in like Asian history and especially in Mongolian culture. So like, I guess if you happen to come across like that kind of you know, that kind of literature, then you would be aware of that thing. So and yeah, it goes hand in hand with being able to counter any like race cards and shit. So I mean race lines and race angles and shit. So which is always like, I guess like again in my non-nationalistic, non-patriotic way is something that I just want to, you know, like shed some light on and clarify pretty much because
Yeah, and I should say as well, for no one getting that bar, I actually knew about that bar from Dan Carlin's podcast, Hardcore History. He has a series about the history of the Mongols, which is fantastic. But the steppe was the sort of vast eco-region in Eurasia where the Mongols roamed that was, you know, flat enough for them to dominate on. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really cool reference. Yeah. Steppe goes, you get a lot of face jokes, Enigma, and Steppe does a lot of those in the second.
I mean, but yeah, with the steps thing, like I mean, I've always thought it was pronounced that way. But even something like that, you know, I had to kind of make sure that that's how it was pronounced overseas and shit. So I had to like check online and be like, okay, I got it right. So like I can use it because of course if it was like pronounced like as steep or steppe or whatever the fuck, right? Then obviously it wouldn't work. So yeah, luckily it did. And yeah, with the face jokes thing, man, like what can I say, yo? Shit.
It's just battling,
Like it's an easy target, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. So
if you battled for Sora, Steppe is saying he would use face jokes, but I think the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have a killer third. I think it's one of your best rounds in battle rap that I've seen of yours. And you start off with the flip. You brought up my acne, all right. I ain't bitching. Look at your face. You fucked that shit up despite first world nutrition.
Yeah.
Crazy flip. Yeah. People go mad for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always been like, I don't know, like, I guess, like, you know what I mean? Like, while you're growing up here and the more you realize more about the world and, like, differences in diet and all stuff like that, right? Like, of course, I'm a Filipino and then, like, we eat this shit. And then you kind of, like, you wonder why Americans are that big. And, of course, like, it's, like, you realize that their diet basically, like, contributes to that, and I was able to verify that further, like in anthropology class, like eventually, like that basically you know, all these races that migrated or were taken from their homelands that were put in America and were fed this diet contributed a lot to like the growth in height and weight and all that and like I've seen statistics of like all that shit. So, you know, I've always I've always been aware of like, yeah, man, shit. Like if only I was eating that shit every day from like since birth, I probably would have grown to be that tall, and I probably would have fulfilled my dreams of being like an NBA player or some shit. Right.
Yeah. And sort of freestyling at the start of your rounds, coming up with flips, is that something you feel comfortable with?
Not necessarily, man. Like I wouldn't consider myself to be like that great of a freestyler. I can do it, but I guess I was just lucky that battle, man. Like I was able to concretize the thought in my head and have it rhyme well enough to be able to spit, right? So like it was like a lot of people, I've come across a lot of people's creative processes wherein how they approach pre-meds or how they even approach rebuttaling, and it wasn't a case of like I gotta show that I can rebuttal in this battle. Like no, I just waited for the opportunity, and it made sense. Luckily, it landed. So.
And, you know, lots of great stuff in the third, as I say. Here to cut you out the league with Occam's razor, which I just think's wonderful. Yeah. I really, really like that. And you do a classic sort of thing. When someone's generic, it's even generic to point out how generic they are. And, you know, we've seen this before, but with Step, it's warranted. And Step Easy wins, which I personally think's a bit bullshit. I don't know about you. He takes it, all the judges give it to him, but I think your writing, your performance was more interesting.
Yeah. Of course, I'd like to think that as well, but I can't deny the fact that he did deliver his shit a lot better, a lot more accessible, especially in the moment. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know, I guess like my delivery doesn't really help whatever writing ability I might have. So yeah, you know, like I'll take it in stride, man. I'll take it as a learning experience, and then at the end of the day, it's I'm also of the sentiment that like you know, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, like, and that's not to try to justify my my constant losing though. Like, I've always really kind of felt that way as a league owner as well. Like, you know, when the MCs they feel bad about their battles when they lose, and I keep reminding them, like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, the standing is like, that's just the formality. What matters is that you were able to represent your shit, execute it perfectly, and that, you know, like, we were able to all do our thing as you as a MC. The both of you as opponents, as a battle, and all of us as a league and as a community and all that shit. So, and
I mean, you were over there obviously to enjoy the event as well. World Dom 3, another classic event for King of the Dot. What were some of your favorite memories, favorite battles, people you met?
There's a lot, man. Like it's always overwhelming. I might be jumbling up the timeline in some of these stories, but you know, like of course, even just getting the fucking meet Thesaurus and Ilmac the first time, World Dom 2, and all these legends, right? Like, it's really like, you know, it's funny because like I guess like locals out here, like they get starstruck when they see me, and I try to downplay it, and then but of course when I see them, when I went over there the first time and actually got to see them face to face, you know what I mean? You're like, yeah, I was pretty starstruck, yo. So like, even just getting to walk behind fucking Thesaurus and all of them, like there was I have a vague memory of us like walking down somewhere, like either a restaurant or something, or to the convenience store or something, and then like, of course, John and I, like we're all like fucking quiet, we're fucking short as fuck. So yo, check it out, fucking Thesaurus right in front of us, type shit. Like, can't believe this shit, yo. Like, there's some funny memories at the hotel, like just chilling outside the hotel, getting even encountering Pat Stay for the first time in a fucking small ass elevator,
right?
And us being short as we are, and he's like huge as fuck. I've walked in on Pat Stay like raping Sharon, so like,
right,
I was I witnessed that for real. Like, I was there too when Ilmac and Dirtbag Dan started wrestling.
Oh yeah,
and fucking broke the bed, and Dirtbag Dan choked him out. Yeah, man, like a lot of fucking fun memories of people ciphering. Day 3, of course, that was like day 3 of World Domination.
Oh yeah, you battled
2, the first time there at the park. Like, yeah, that was insane. Like, that was like, I got so fucking high that day, and like
Yeah, it was a good event for the UK guys as well. Shotty was out there battling Fingers. Yunan battled HFK. Chris Lees versus Tricky Pig. Yeah, it was a fantastic event. Well done for it. I love the way it looks on camera as well. I think it's one of the best shot King of the Dot events. Just looks very crisp, very professional. I haven't seen this battle, Enigma, but I like the battler a lot. I like Greeley a lot, and you battled him on 1 ounce. It must have been cool going to another country, going to Australia to battle.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's just like, again, like I never even fucking thought FlipTop would be successful, or anything hip hop related or arts related would be successful in a country like ours. So yeah, man, like everything, every fucking new experience was always overwhelming. By then I was a little bit more seasoned. I think I had a better grasp of how to prepare and like what my style should be and how to balance it out with like, you know, like being as far as being a bit more accessible to the crowd. And still not compromising like my style and the shit that I prefer. But yeah, man, shout outs to Greeley, yo. Like I've always thought he was one of the best out there, even before I made it to World Domination 2. Like I always thought, like if there was a way that I could lobby for him at World Dom, like he should definitely, like he would kill it, man. Like Greeley's sick. Definitely. And then and shout outs to Mike Pipes, man. Fuck, he's a big brother out there, man. He set it all up. He took care of us, yo. Like, and up to this day, sometimes like I feel like I deserve that, but at the same time, it's always like, yo, I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I'm fucking lucky to get to experience this shit. Shout outs to Mike Pipes, man. Like, I miss all motherfuckers out in Australia.
And next up for you on FlipTop was Lo Pesci.
Because it's either you forgot your roots since your memory sucks, or it's an apparent snub of your flesh and blood. That's why you care so much to always mention the expression, fair enough. And your chef dad must have had the fruitiest cookbooks, of which you took spoonfuls for you to be too hooked. The dude's being all about good looks. It's crazy, man. Lo is his own gayest fan. He thinks he's so good he can beat himself, then he'll beat off to himself. Dude's really a megalomaniac.
Which has got 1.4 mil. I mean, awesome battle. But the whole card itself, Tectonics 2, it was kind of like your own World Dom, wasn't it? Bringing over loads of international guys to battle you guys.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like that was the theme behind the event name, pretty much. Like,
sure.
Tectonics, the first Tectonics was the one with Dirtbag Dan and Lucian.
Right.
It was another Phil American that came in, and so like pretty much same theme. It was inspired by World Domination. Like I'm not gonna pretend like I thought of that shit myself, but sure. Of course it's a matter of like, are we able to pull this off like in our soil, you know what I mean? So yeah, like that was Loe Pesci, and of course the late great Bender, man.
Yes, rest in peace, Bender. Yeah, he battled Protege there, didn't he?
Yeah, man, shit. I'm still like, up to this day, I'm still fucking shocked.
I know
over that shit, yo. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so rest in peace, Bender.
Rest in peace.
Sharon was out there. Tantrum.
Shazam was there as well, was he?
Shazam was there. Critical from Base Mentality. He was out there as well. Twizzy, he's a Filipino Canadian.
Oh yeah.
From the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he's from Vancouver. I can't remember right now, but so yeah, it's again like the thinking behind it is it's always like trying to represent for our shit. It's trying to show the opponents as well as the rest of the world, as well as the locals, that yo, we can hang, you know what I mean? Like we can actually like compete with these motherfuckers. We can, it was a sick event. Unfortunately, it wasn't as supported live. Like not too many Filipinos, you know, like are that fucking familiar with the rest of battle rap all around the world. Like they know of it, but they don't really follow it as much. And so it wasn't like our usual crazy crowd out there, which is cool as well. And you know what I mean? Like even those that attended, like not everyone there is like super fluent in English, you know what I mean? Especially if you if you do the if you try to get a bit more nuanced about it, make use of higher
well, I think if you reference things as well, like Pesci does throughout, and you call him up on it, because and a lot of them evidently go over people's heads. As I said before, he acknowledges that there's a bit of deadlines here. But Pesci as a battler, obviously so accomplished, especially at this time. This is very cool that you guys got to face off here. Was he the person that you wanted most of all?
No, not really, man. Actually, sometimes I'm good with not battling, because I have enough on my hands as is, as far as organizing and everything.
Yeah.
Logistics, just having to take care of them when they land here and shit. So yeah, man, I can always take a back seat to all this shit, but I guess it's also a case of there's not enough of us to represent, so I have to fucking represent. And I guess Lo Pesci, I wanted him to battle this other cat out here, that he accused of jacking his line. The homie Jed Lee.
Right.
He's back in the States though now, but yeah, he had a similar Ninth Wonder, produce your younger brother, little brother line kind of thing. And then so I wanted him to battle Jed Lee, but Lo Pesci didn't think he was deserving enough. So it was either he gets someone that he really wants to battle, or he gets a battle that's gonna get a lot of views and shit. So, which I'm not gonna fault him for.
No, of course not.
To make the trip.
And you talk about him being his own biggest fan, beats off to himself. He's really a megalomaniac, which is some nice original stuff there. And you said that, I don't know if you just said this offhand, I don't know if there's any truth in this. You say Smack had accused you of faking views?
Yeah.
Had they actually?
Maybe accused is too heavy a word, but they did mention it.
Yeah.
I guess they were just talking shit. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, when FlipTop first started to overtake the other leagues as far as view count goes, of course they were all suspicious about it, and they were thinking oh, it's probably some Asian bot shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. But I remember. Smack had there was a really short video where he was oh, those guys buy their views and shit like that.
Okay.
And it's kind of you know what I mean, man. I have nothing against Smack or anything. Obviously they paved the way for us to even be here and all that. But of course it kind of hurts, right? You want to be acknowledged for what it is you've actually accomplished. You know what I mean? I'm not asking for any more than that. I'm just asking for any nothing more, nothing less. You know what I mean? Just. Fucking recognize, motherfucker.
yeah, definitely. You go in and he's packing his CD with 3D glasses in the second, which hilarious section. Unless that shit is seeping acid, do you actually think a fan will sit next to his speakers blasting, grab them and be like, damn, they're a real enhancement?
Yeah. I know, man. I come up with some weird shit.
Yeah, and original rhymes as well. So it's need the glasses to get respect, like Aretha Franklin. And I love that you rhyme that with urethra damaged, worse than a weekend bladdered, where my thinking pattern's keeping deep. Just really elegant stuff.
The we can't fathom. We
can fathom. Again, what was your writing process like now you've been battling for a few years? Is it similar to just going in, a whole scheme, or?
Yeah, man, I guess I'm a fan of those, long schemes and shit. I've always been, I think you can actually pinpoint which rounds in all my past battles wherein I actually do one scheme for the whole round. And it's always, it's always been my thing, man. As far as, the writing style, I feel I've always kind of been inclined to write that way. So, you'd have to ask my homeboys, man, as further proof of that I've always kind of wrote and thought that way. So of course people who don't know me wouldn't know a thing, right? They wouldn't know where I'm coming from, or the shit that I know type of shit. So it's always a challenge of trying to balance my style and at the same time being accessible enough to the crowd. So I guess by that battle, you know what I mean, I'm a lot more conscious about it, about being a little bit more accessible than my style would normally permit. So
And Lo mentions Balak-Tassan, which you mentioned before at the start of the episode, which is quite interesting where I first heard it. And I love how real you get in the third. You just say, let's drop everything now, write rounds for 1 hour, and I doubt this clown could get the style without scouring the internet, which is so true for so many battle rappers. And you seem to pride yourself on that, resourcefulness that you have.
Yeah. Like it's how do I put it? It's like yeah, I guess I just have like a certain aesthetic in mind that I try to go for all the time. So like I have all these like personal rules that I like it's not like I go around telling people that they should do that, but I try to follow it as much as possible. You know what I mean? Like all these personal techniques that like I shouldn't write like this, I shouldn't write like that. It has like the exposition has to be like this, the rhyming scheme, the rhyming alone always has to be at like a level that I enjoy. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I'm aware like some people might be able to argue that some of my multis are forced, but of course I'd like to think otherwise. I'm sure like some people will be like, oh, urethra damaged. Sure. Rhymed with Aretha Franklin, right? Never made, but like at the end of the day, because like along the way, man, like I got exposed to more and more different schools of thought as far as like this whole hip hop thing goes, like from battle rap techniques to like what people like people's views on different kinds of hip hop. So like I try to absorb all of that, but at the end of the day, like I always have like I try to stick to my guns as well and still try to represent for what I myself prefer, because you know what I mean, like how do I put this? Like the West Coast, right? The Fresh Coast, like they kind of clown on backpack rap, and for the longest time, I guess our shit could be considered as like the equivalent of backpack rap out here in the Philippines. So like, of course, when I was first exposed to it, I was like, man, why do those guys fucking feel that way about it? Like, so I try to analyze it for myself. And then, like I try to see things from their perspective, see what they consider is cool, try to see if it's like consistent with like whatever else they proclaim when it comes to their aesthetics and their standards. And at the end of the day, man, like, I just have I still have to like be real to myself, like call it nerdy, call it whatever the fuck, like, but I ain't a gangster. I'm not into gun bars. I'm not into like word association and all these different techniques. So yeah, that's fucking just trying to do me pretty much.
And who do you feel in conclusion won the battle between you and Lo?
Shit, man. I'd like to think I did, but of course it's always up for debate. And again, it doesn't really matter. I'll just leave that there.
I think you did, but yeah, I'm just interested because there isn't any result there. Now, I think the J-Pro battle happened around this time, but unfortunately, I mean, you mentioned it to me when we were sort of getting in touch before we went on air. I kind of forgot, and when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, he did. I remember seeing the thumbnail and everything, but this got taken down, unfortunately, because of J-Pro's budding law career. Is that right?
Yeah. He got with a new firm, and I think he wanted to make a good first impression. So, he asked King of the Dot to take down all of his battles first, and like I think it'll be up again. Like give it like maybe 1 or 2 months from now and shit.
Okay. And how was that battle then? Because I don't think I actually watched it myself. How was the reaction?
It was probably actually one of my best fucking live performances, really. I didn't win again.
Right.
Although that I really felt that I fucking won, you know what I mean? But it was great, man. Like the backstory to all that was really what fucking did it for me, man. Like it was where do I start, man? Long story short, basically I hustled the fucking Canadian embassy out here into giving me my visa. And I was able to get my visa at the last minute because I was scheduled for day 1, and I still didn't have my visa, and it was flooding out here like crazy. Like the embassy was closed for like 4 days already, which is pretty valuable when you're trying to rush your visa, right? Not that I submitted my application late or anything, but all sorts of fuckery happened, and so basically it was already day one when I got my visa, and I hadn't slept in like, I only had like 8 hours of sleep in like the past 4 days type of shit. Like, I was definitely breaking down, racking my brain on how to fucking get my visa. And when I finally did, I booked the first ticket, fucking flew out, and like I fell asleep maybe for like 3 hours. Got on the first flight, and I was awake the whole flight. And that's a long ass flight, you know what I mean? That's like 14 hours. I was just zoning in the whole time. I couldn't fucking sleep. Fucking land in Toronto. Was picked up by the homies out there, and then yeah, before I know it, I was on the fucking sidewalk right outside the fucking venue. Bumped into John, because John was already there. He got his visa without difficulty. And yeah, man, like, from the airport to the fucking sidewalk, and then in like 30 minutes I fucking battled, and I'd like to think I gave one of my best performances. That's I guess, I don't know, man, like, it's kind of unsung because like only because like a lot of Filipinos give too much credit to like who wins and who loses. So like when they heard that I lost, like a lot of them like kind of like forget about the entire battle. They're just like, oh, all right. Like, some of them will watch it, and a lot of them won't understand what I said. So but yeah, man, like I felt like I did really well in that battle. I felt like I was able to cement my style in that battle, and I was out for blood, man. Like, I was fucking pissed, yo. Like, I really took out all my shit on J-Pro, right, man. Like put it this way, man. Like, when I say I hustled the Canadian embassy, right? So out here, like, if you don't have an appointment, you can't even get past the lobby and shit. And in my situation, if you don't even have like if you're trying to convince them to give you the visa, and if you're not like the first in line, there's like no way you're gonna get it, because they only operate from like 8 o'clock to 11 in the morning, and then they shut down the thing. They shut down the embassy. They close it and do a lot of their office stuff. So, and they still wouldn't let me upstairs, man. Like, I was the first in line. I was there at like 4 a.m. making sure, parking myself at the fucking lobby, even when the fucking security guard hadn't even shifted yet to the morning shift. I was the first one there, man. Fucking tried to convince them. I even had luckily there was a friend out here from Montreal. I even rang her up and asked her if she could like meet me at the embassy, and like if she could help me lie about like fucking trying to get to Canada. And so because like Canadian citizens, they can go in and out of the embassy with no appointment whatsoever. They can even just chill there if they wanted to, right? So like she's allowed to like get past the lobby right away. Everyone else has to like go through like some tedious process, right? Fucking, and they still weren't letting me up, but my friend was able to get in already. And finally, my last fucking resort was like, this is all after like emailing the fucking the Canadian ambassador. I even found the ambassador's wife's email and fucking emailed her and all that shit, man. Like you know, I was pretty truthful about everything, like blah blah blah. Like, yo, like I submitted my shit months ago just because I didn't use the visa assistance agency. Like, why is my shit not being opened? Why is it not being checked? Because they acknowledged that it was there, but they didn't fucking open my envelope for whatever the fuck reason, right? And yeah, man, like the last fucking resort is I told the lobby that, okay, I'm gonna withdraw my application, because only then will they allow you to go upstairs to get your passport back, right? So I told them I was gonna withdraw my application, filled out the forms for withdrawing, get upstairs, go through the tight security, all this X-rays, lockers for yourself. And I told them straight up, no, like I'm not withdrawing. I just said that I lied about it just so I could finally get in here and tell you guys face to face, tell you about my situation and what I'm trying to do, blah 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 blah. And then at first he told me like no can do, right? Like he like there's nothing he can do about it, and I kept pleading. And then my Canadian friend came in as well, and she tried to pass herself off as a King of the Dot Montreal division representative and all that, and she acknowledged the authenticity of the paperwork that KOTD sent over to me to help me with my visa. And so the agent went back and fucking talked to one of the higher ups, came back and told me like he still couldn't do anything about it. I still kept pleading. Finally, like I think one of the heads of the embassy came over and heard my story, and of course she fucking gave me a sermon, yo. Like she was all like blah blah blah, all like, why is it that on your papers you're saying you're going for a vacation, but in actuality you're there to battle? And I'm like, no, but it's both, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I mentioned the battle as well, but she was, but obviously like this is the main reason why you're going there, and apparently you've been to Canada 2 years already before this trip, so all this time you were fucking lying to us and shit. And I was like, no, like, you know, like I actually do, for whatever it's worth, I actually do fucking enjoy all the touristy shit that comes along with it. Just I try to stay as long as I can, as long as I can afford in Toronto, just to get to immerse myself in the whole culture in the city. And yeah, man, no, she was really giving me a lot of shit, dude. But the last thing she said was, okay, come back here at 4 p.m. I'll think about it. But when she said that, I knew inside, I was like, oh man, she's gonna give me my visa. No way she's gonna give me like that long of a fucking long scolding, and then tell me to come back just to get my passport, right? Like if she was gonna deny me, she would have just given me my passport back right away. And yeah, man, it's like it's one of the, like that whole fucking experience, everything, man, from realizing my visa wasn't even ready yet, to the floods, to like braving the fucking floods just to get to the embassy, to lining up, doing all that shit, pulling that shit with the embassy, lying to them straight up, and still getting my visa, flying and doing well for my battle, man. It's one of my single most proud moments, pretty much.
Yeah,
like,
and it's not even online at the moment, but as you say, hopefully it will be.
And if you compare the view count to all my other battles, like, again, it's not as viewed as everything else, because of course the Filipinos out here just think, oh, there goes Enigma again, he lost again. Sure. Not knowing, you know what I mean? If you check majority of the comments on my battles, 80% of it is Filipinos being proud about being stupid, being proud basically about not understanding anything that was said.
Okay.
Like that, they say it in Tagalog. If you were to translate a lot of it, it's always wala akong maintindihan, nosebleed. Nosebleed is supposed to be like a colloquial joke out here. Like if you speak English, you're too high up there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Nosebleed. I mean, so like that's what they say when someone speaks English too well. So yeah, 80% of the comments, man, like it's so bittersweet. You know what I mean? Like I do get a lot of views, but the locals don't understand me because like they're not as nuanced in English, which isn't their fault.
Yeah.
And a lot of international people don't understand me because they probably think like I'm too like unorthodox and my accent's too uncommon and all that. And so it's weird, man. Like
another derogatory term, that's used is the term amboy. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's used against Fredo. This is your most recent battle. What does that mean? The term amboy?
It's basically short for American boy.
Right. And
I mean, it's not derogatory, but
no,
like thing depending on the tone, like it could be said that way. And
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's back to basics. Very cool environment, sort of pre-bunker King of the Dot, but it's essentially getting there with this sort of idea. You versus Fredo, quite an inspired pairing.
Then all of a sudden he made a backronym for Muda. Most unstoppable team around. As if that really was the initial definition y'all had meant to use. That shit is stupid. Is that supposed to get us spooked? How can you be ignorant of us and think that we still all live in Nipa huts when you got more than just Filipino blood? Shit, he evolved from a coconut. He did evolve from a coconut. Check his genetics. Brown, round, dirty husk, euphemizing his chin size and get him to open up and it's all white on the inside. Oh.
Pretty much the whole like Filipino versus Filipino thing. And I guess like we both heavy into multis and shit, so
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, as a matchmaker myself, like, that's always like reason enough to make the to confirm the match and shit.
And what I like is you talking throughout the battle of the harsh realities that you have to go through that Fredo perceived that hasn't had to go through. Probably rip out your hair if you lost electricity for a week. Is that a common occurrence?
Growing up, not so much now, but like in different parts of the country more so, because like, I mean, like, obviously the most what do you call this? The most modernized area of the Philippines would be Metro Manila, but we're just a fucking tiny dot on the map. We're not even like, we're not even like 1% of the landmass of our archipelago.
Right.
So the rest of the country still like, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone has access to, like, water gets cut like every other week. Even in more urbanized cities as Davao, which is all the way in the south, in the southernmost island group. And so these are, if even the major cities still experience that shit, just imagine how it goes with like the really remote areas, you know what I mean? But it's amazing though, because like, you get to find a lot of spots out here, man, and really see the stars, because like when there's no electricity, there's no lights around, and that shit comes out in the sky, you know what I mean? Like it's not, I guess it's something that not everyone is able to experience, you know what I mean? So
no, certainly not. And you say you don't need guns for drive-bys. You can die when actual vehicles drive by.
Yeah. Which is again like me being funny, but with a serious tone, you know what I mean? Like, it's what's the word for it? Like dry humor, I guess. Like dry but bordering on aggressive humor.
Yeah, you talk about no diet restrictions and sort of the dire conditions of the islands that you relinquish, and lots of wonderful writing. You sort of attack him from quite a big. I think your first is probably the strongest, and fair to say that Fredo gets stronger as the battle goes on.
Yeah. I messed up a line in the third round. Like I got thrown off by one of his homeboys, and then I was trying to bring it back. And I was able to bring it back, but then I jumbled up the entire order of my third round. So I was kind of winging it at that point. And then I fucking left out one of my stronger lines, man. Like, I can't even remember it right now. I think I wrote it down and I posted it on my Facebook page just as a, you know what I mean, as for people to be able to read, for the countrymen to read like what it is I was actually saying if for whatever reason they couldn't understand the words I was using, right? So I really had like a nail in the coffin fucking line there, and unfortunately I wasn't able to spit it, and I did get rattled with the fuck up. So yeah, that sucked.
yeah, it's a shame that there is some like Fredo in the comments I think mentions that a choke was edited slightly.
Well, I don't know about that, you know what I mean? It's not like I asked Avocado.
Yeah. I
mean, I might have just as a joke, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I was just like, yeah, man, it's up to you, man. Just make me look good, you know? And then, I don't know, I guess that's kind of, like, overcompensatory on fucking Fredo's part to, like, have to try to put that out to, like, sway people's opinions. But it's whatever, right? Like, I mean, I guess it did happen, but not like it was my doing or anything. And,
and I should say this is a fantastic battle. I really enjoyed this one. I didn't actually watch it for whatever reason until I did this episode with you. And the rounds are strong and sharp, and the crowd are on it. The energy's there, you know. I think for this environment, it's perfect. I like how you say in the third that I've read harder instruction manuals than you.
Yeah. I think I'm actually like in hindsight, I might have worded that wrong, because like it might come off as me saying like, we both read instruction manuals, but I read harder ones, which was what I wanted to say. I was trying to say that, like, I've come across instruction manuals that are more complex than your style, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah, that's how it came across. That's definitely how it came across. So yeah, okay. that was good. And nearing 1 million views on King of the Dart, which is crazy. Obviously, you bring with you a certain brood of audience members that comments, as you say, aren't maybe the most congratulatory there. But this was the last battle then that has been uploaded for you. This is uploaded in July 2015. Any thoughts on battling this year? Are you going to battle again, or?
Yeah, if the situation makes sense, man, like I definitely would. I've actually received a couple of invites since then, and it's just none of it like panned out and shit. So like it was either I was too busy, or like the matchup didn't really make sense to me, or the money thing is always an issue, right? Because I understand it isn't cheap to fly a Filipino all the way into Canada and even all the other countries that I received offers from. So like I've received invitations from like from the weirdest places, really, like India, South Africa, Botswana, and shit like that. And
goddamn.
Yeah, yeah, like and then Don't Flop as well, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say they must have reached out.
I think small in the States as well, but it's always like I hate to sound like a diva about this shit, but you know, I got so much on my plate over here. So like when a smaller league wants to get me over, like, you know, I got bills to pay, I got family to take care of, so I can't exactly be accepting battles just so I can get a free vacation and come home like with less money than I did going in. You know what I mean? Sure. Like it's pretty irresponsible, and that's all besides like that's all time away from me working on FlipTop. So like that's what I always try to explain it as best as I can to those inviting me, that, you know, it's not so much that you're paying me for my performance, it's just that you're paying me for time away from making money elsewhere, or from working on all my other responsibilities, pretty much. Because like, again, it would be irresponsible, like, right, like if I'm like, okay, fuck FlipTop for a month, I'm gonna fucking write and enjoy a free vacation and perform as well. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty irresponsible. So
I suppose you can see it that way, but also, you know, it's forwarding the word. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about FlipTop as well. So that is your main occupation, is it? Running the league? Do you host, or is it more just you organise the matches and the events?
Both, man. I still host every single battle up to this day, except for the ones that I battle.
Yeah.
Or like the Tectonics battles normally, because I try to save my voice for my own battle and shit. So, but yeah, man. There's only been like two of us out here that have been witness to every single battle live. That's my partner, DJ Umph,
right,
who does the camera work and editing as well for FlipTop. We founded FlipTop together, and he's been with me since day one, man. Like, he's the big brother right there. So,
and I mean, even if I don't understand anything that's going on, I love occasionally watching some of the FlipTop battles, because I've never seen a crowd like it. They're often in giant gymnasiums, and they're packed to the rafters. Like, it's so cool to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that for those are the year-ender events, which is supposed to be like the best of the best.
Sure.
Year-end culminating event that also involves the finals of both tournaments and shit like that. So yeah, like not every single event's like that, as big as that at least, because like those events can pack in around like 2,000 to 3,000 people, but normally we get around like 800 people, even in the provinces and shit like that. So,
unbelievable. Absolutely. I mean, you compare that even to URL, like they don't get those numbers.
Yeah. It's a lot of outsiders, man. Like which is not to downplay their appreciation for what we do, you know what I mean? Like, but a lot of it would be because of that. Like, the reason why we do hit such numbers in live attendance is because a lot of outsiders really enjoy this shit. So, you know, like the most random people, like from all sorts of different walks of life. Like, people travel over 12 hours just to attend our events, and it's really fucking unbelievable and heartwarming, man. Like, it's what keeps us going despite everything that we have to deal with out here. And like every event, man, when people come up to me, like, or when I ask them right before the event starts, like, who here is from outside of Metro Manila, who here like is from that region, that province, and it's like, and there's always like dozens of them, right? Like, and like sometimes it'll be like one group of people that are like 8 hours away on the left side, and another an entirely different gang of people that are from the same province that they just don't know that other gang and shit. So it's amazing, yo.
Yeah. And you know, are you guys going to get any more English speaking battlers out there for events?
That's gonna be tough, man, because like it's not as supported, you know what I mean, like both live and online. Like it's the whole business situation is tough. The business behind it is tough, because then again, like if we're gonna have to spend to fly in foreigners, that shit's expensive as fuck for us, you know what I mean? Like like a ticket to Canada is expensive as hell out here. Like yeah, man, like and being having to put up enough money to fly in enough people to make a good enough lineup that might not even get as much traction or support live or online. It's always difficult, man. Like I feel bad about it, of course, because like of course I want the English rapping people out here to represent for us as well. But until the business makes sense, like again, it would be irresponsible of me to spend the money on that when it can go to like arguably more deserving events, like the local MCs that really keep the league going pretty much because of their the support of their individual fan bases, the quality of the battles, of course, and then there's that like there's probably only right now I'd say there's only like 4 of us that are not even active anymore, but that can battle in English. There are a lot of cats out here that make music in English, but they don't battle. So like, you know, how am I supposed to put up a lineup with like 4 of them, and a lot of us are rusty, a lot of us it's all sorts of shit.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable, really, to see you know, how popular it is. It's so brilliant. And Mark Grist came over, is that right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, he came over for a documentary for Red Bull, and but yeah, he flew in here for a documentary that was supposed to feature battle rap all around the world, and we were supposed to be the pilot episode. And so yeah, it involved like a week of filming. It involved weeks of preparation, research, and all that, like picking out locations for their team. And then it was a week of filming, and I was there throughout all of it. And then it culminates with a battle event, and he battles both Looney and Jay. Fortunately, like we don't own the rights to those battles, and I think it's been shelved for now. Like so until they give us the go signal, we can't actually upload it.
Yeah, I think some of the audio has been leaked online, which I found this morning. But yeah, I can't seem to find any footage of it. It's just crazy that Mark Grist went out there. I remember him mentioning it when he was on the show, actually, quite a while back, that him and Liam Bagnall went out there. So yeah, very excited to see that footage. So we'll wrap up Enigma with a few quickfire questions. The first one is, I guess I kind of want to ask this, but it's kind of hard. Like, what is the best flip-top battle? I know we're never going to understand it, but which, in your opinion, is the best battle on the...
I'd say the most viewed one, which would be a 2-on-2 battle between Looney and Abra and Shay and Smugglers. I don't know like how high the view count is now.
30 million it's currently at.
Yeah, oh shit, yeah.
30 million, Jesus.
Yeah, and again, that's not even counting all the piracy, man, because like we're heavily bootlegged out here. Like it's sold in DVDs on the side. Shit.
All right, interesting. Yeah. Okay. What about Don't Flop? Do you have a favorite Don't Flop battle?
Shit. Well, the thing is, man, like I'm not very good with these questions, yo. When it comes to like, what's your favorite thing, like it's always like, and like I kind of try to stay away from it. I feel like I always leave out something, so I don't want to not do it justice and shit. But
just ones you like, you know, ones you really enjoy.
Well, I'm a big fan of Don't Flop, man, definitely, and of British owners of the language and everything, like all different things British. Like I'm a big Robbie Williams fan. Right. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the talent pool of Don't Flop, man. Like they have a really diverse and deep roster of talent. Like I guess like even the people that would be considered mid-tier in the UK, like they're still pretty fucking sick and intimidating, you know what I mean? Like if I had to battle, like, but definitely I'm a big fan of like O'Shea, Tony D. I was a big fan of Nishi. Unfortunately, like I don't.
Yeah, Nishi. Yeah, old school.
Like all sorts of them, man. Like I really watched a lot of Don't Flop back then, and once in a while I'll still come across a few battles that I'll really enjoy. Fucking Dialect always kills it. Kruger, of course.
Oh my god,
man, since the WRC's archaic. Fucking, of course, I'm pretty familiar too with like Rhyme Asylum.
Yeah.
And a lot of underground UK hip hop, like Children of the Damned, Squid Ninjas. I'm a fan of Soweto Kinch as well. Both his music battles.
What a legend.
It's too much. It's too many to mention, man.
Yeah.
Keep going if I try to name all of them, man. Like.
Let's talk King of the Dot then. Favorite battles, battlers, or ones you again really rank highly?
Shit. Like a lot of Pat Stay battles, I'd say would be up there. I guess it's confusing now, right? Because like the roster of King of the Dot now like includes a lot of the Fresh Coast, which used to be Grind Time, right? So
yeah.
But, yeah, man. Like I guess a lot from the World Domination events since I was able to watch it live. Ilmac Bender, that was insane.
Yeah.
Pat Stay Marv 1, like in some of the battles you can actually see me, like if you look closely enough, you'll see me like trying to tiptoe over someone's shoulder, try to look into the circle, right, and shit. Yeah, man, just fuck, too many to mention.
Yeah, and URL finally, like, what are the ones you really enjoy there?
URL, I'd say, would be like the one that I follow the least among all the battle league, just because I'm not so much a fan of the gun bars, and I guess that's really like their aesthetic over there. I am a fan of the delivery, the aggression, and some of the wordplay. I would be a fan of Hollow the Dawn, some of Murder Mook, I guess, Hitman Holla. What's his name? Lux,
of course, man. And final two questions, not battle rap related. What's your favorite film?
Shit, yeah, here we go again with like I'm not these questions. Like,
is there one? Is there one above all the others?
Fuck, man. I'd say like off the top of my head right now, it's always like The Man from Earth.
Oh yeah, with David Bowie.
Yeah. Like that's, I guess, an easy answer. Although I'm pretty sure I could come up with some that are better than that. But that's like one of the ones that I do remember. But yeah, man. Like I mean, I remember someone asking me on RMBVA like that question, all sorts of like, what's your favorite questions and shit. And like I couldn't come up with any, and like the closest thing that I could remember would be like Mortal Kombat Annihilation in 1996, I think, when I was a kid. Like,
right.
Like for me, like that was the best shit ever.
Yeah.
And some Jean-Claude Van Damme fucking action shit.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sort of silly questions at the end to give us a bit more of an insight. But I guess it's a final question you'll be glad to hear. Your favorite musical artist or band that is in no way hip-hop related?
Charles Mingus.
Charles Mingus, let's go. Sophisticated shit. Yeah, incredible musician.
I kind of like gravitate towards his personality as well, because like when I read up about him, I heard he's like hot-headed and shit. Like he's always pissed. So like I kind of related to that. Like, I listen to a lot of different music, pretty much, man. Like I have a half brother as well that used to be a jazz guitarist out here. He was like one of the best as well. So like I was exposed to like a lot of artsy stuff growing up that of course like I considered like normal. And then like I own, like when I get older, that's when I realized that, you know, like, oh, I guess like not everyone's like really exposed to shit like that. But at the same time, you know, like I try to step away from being like all artsy fartsy, because I hate those motherfuckers as well.
Sure. Me too, yeah. And, you know, lastly, how do people get at you? I mean, obviously, how do they subscribe to FlipTop? How do they message you, get your music, that sort of thing?
For my individual page, you can check out facebook.com/MC Enigma. For FlipTop, it's facebook.com/fliptop.battleleague. we're about to have a website, so that's going to be www.fliptop.com.ph for Philippines. And yeah, I guess by the time this interview comes out, it should be online again, because we actually launched a beta and it crashed due to the traffic and shit. So but yeah, other than that, man, like, I'm not really so big on social media, yo. Like I can't even imagine how other people get to keep up with all their accounts and shit like that. I'll forget passwords, and that's all besides the fact that I don't really have much to say, as opinionated as I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather express these things in conversations than post about it, you know, like a lot of the times, like, I want to say something, but I just, like, I pull back and be like, ah, fuck it, dude. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, no one gives a fuck about what I say anyway, so the same way I don't give a fuck about all these people, right? Like,
yeah, fair enough, man. Well, this has been great. This has been enlightening. You know, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people have enjoyed listening as well. Please follow the links. I'll put them in the description. You know, please follow the show as well, everyone, at BattleRapResume. Get in touch with me, battleresume@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on Patreon. Leave us a review on iTunes as well. Yeah, thank you again for listening. Enigma, cheers, man. Really appreciate your time.
Yo, thank you so much, Tom, for having me, yo. And anytime you want to interview anyone else out here, just let me know and I'll
yeah. Thank you, man. I've been in touch with Looney, actually, and I think he's on tour at the moment, but he said he'd be on the show in a few weeks, so hopefully we'll try and get something together there. And but yeah, Enigma, thank you again, man.
Thank you again, Tom. Shout outs, Battle Rap Resume.